thank you, everyone. I think now is a good time for us to get started, and those people who can join in can catch up. And again, this will be recorded, so you can access it later if anybody you know is missing it and wants to hear the information. I'm just going to share the slideshow with you, so just give me 1 second as I pull that up. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for joining us today for our 5th webinar for the 2019-2020 school year. The 5th webinar for us is also corresponding with the 5 times that the Korean Ministry of Education has delayed the start of the school openings. So I appreciate your flexibility, your patience, and I understand that uncertainty is distressing and never comforting. Today, I appreciate you joining us. I know that your time is precious, and I know that you're eager to hear what the school will look like for BFS in our final few weeks of school. Mr. Brenneman and Ms. Ayaputh have joined me again today to help any questions you might have on the Q&A. And if you look down at the bottom of the webinar, you'll see the Q&A button on the screen, and you can type in questions there, and they'll do their best to answer them. And if need be, I'll address them live. It is difficult to imagine that we've been dealing with COVID-19 now since the first case appeared here in Busan on February 21st, and we made our transition to virtual school. Looking back over my notes during this time, there were many times that we believed we would have the opportunity to return physically to school. I'm very appreciative of the amazing work that the Korean CDC has done in containing the spread of the virus. Looking at what is happening in many countries, I'm grateful to be able to live in Busan, where I felt safe during this pandemic. On Monday, in response to the situation with the Itaewon cluster that's developed, the Korean Ministry of Education announced that they would be delaying the start of physical school by 1 week. Again, this was the 5th delay that they've made. Whereas before this delay, we had flexibility in implementing our stagger start, we were told on Monday that we would have to follow the same guidelines as all schools in Korea. And that guideline is that on May 20th, grade 12 would start. On May 27th, our early childhood, K3, PK3 and K4, grades 1 and grade 2 would start, as well as grades 9 and 11 in the high school. On June 3rd, grades 3, 4, 8, and 10 would start, and on June 8th, 5, 6, and 7 would start. This presents some challenges for us as a school. Namely, we're almost at the end of our year. 3 grade levels will be coming back for 3 days of school. 2 middle school grade levels were turned for exams only. The ministry schedule is logistically impossible for many of our mixed level classes in the middle school and high school. We have many students who are unable physically to return to school or unwilling to return to school at this late date. We've been hugely successful with our online learning. This will disrupt learning for middle school and high school right at the end of the year when it's crucial. And in elementary, we'll be bringing back students for routines and socialization. The focus on learning will not be as great as it will be before, but we will be able to socialize it for the students. We did present these challenges to the ministry, and as of Wednesday, they told us that we were no longer allowed to deviate from our return to school schedule. Right now, we have made plans that will allow students to return on the schedule and in the best interests of our learning community. Before we begin today and let you know how we're going to make this work in the best interest of our community, it is Teacher Appreciation Day. And I want to take this opportunity to thank our teachers for the outstanding work that they are doing and they have been doing during this time. I mean, we've all been dealing with the extra stress and uncertainty, and our teachers have done a fabulous job of being professional and delivering an outstanding education in a completely new format. I especially want to thank you, the PTSO, who went above and beyond in delivering breakfast to our teachers this morning. It is exactly these moments that I'm grateful to be an educator. Today, we're going to be talking about 4 things. One is the important dates for the remainder of our school year. The second is learning for middle and high school. The third is what learning will look like for the elementary school. And the fourth is just to reiterate what we're taking and the safety precautions we're taking in school and our 3 layers of safety. Important dates. Middle school and high school exams and final projects will take place on June 8th through June 10th. The last day for students will be June 10th. June 11th will be a grading day for teachers to prepare our report cards, and those report cards will be distributed via email to you on June 12th. June 12th will be reserved for graduations and moving on ceremonies. Safety permitting, we are hoping that we can have a grade 5 moving on ceremony at 10 a.m., an 8th grade moving on ceremony at 2 p.m., and our senior graduation at 5 p.m. These are important milestones in students' lives, and we desperately want to be able to deliver those physically in person. But again, that will be safety permitting. So, learning for the middle school and high school. As I mentioned earlier, the Ministry of Education timeline presents distinct challenges in the way that our schedules work. We have mixed grade levels in the majority of our classes. We also have many students who are unable or unwilling to attend school this close to the end of the year. Finally, our students are working to prepare their final projects and exams. They've been very successful with their learning during this virtual time. We know that attendance and assignment completion has been extremely high during this period. We are sensitive to the fact that major disruptions to their schedules this close to the end of the year is not in the best interest of learning. In order to accommodate these differing needs, we can do the following. The school will be physically open for students on the given schedule or the schedule given to us by the Ministry of Education. The seniors can come to school on the 20th, grades 9, 11 on the 27th, and grades 8 and 10 on the 3rd. Grades 6 and 7 will participate in our final exam week. Students who choose to come will be provided with bus and lunch service. We will prepare a room for each separate grade level that will be supervised by a teacher. They will get their lunch and recess and follow the regular scheduled day. Catch-up Wednesdays will continue, and students can use this time to prepare for all of their final assignments. Students will continue with their Zoom lessons in these rooms. For students who are unable or unwilling to come, they can continue to take their lessons from home. Attendance will be taken via their participation in their Zoom classrooms, not with their physical attendance in the school. For students in middle and high school, lessons will continue as before with minimum disruption to their learning. We will also have designated times during the final weeks of school for students to be able to say goodbye to one another and to their teachers, and also to return materials to the classrooms such as textbooks, library books, school-owned computers, athletic uniforms, etc. We do want to present students with an opportunity to say goodbye during this time, and we'll send out a schedule where that will happen. The elementary and early childhood will look different for us because while learning via Blooms and Seesaw has been very successful, we will not be able to continue with that platform once students return to school. For the elementary students, when they return to school, they will participate in the regular classrooms with their teachers and their specialists. School will look different for them, but that will be because of the new safety procedures. Seesaw and virtual learning will continue up until the start date that students can return to school. So for example, if the grade level, grade 1, returns on the 27th, Seesaw will continue up until the 26th. Once they do return to school, the teacher will no longer be able to provide instruction in both formats. Teachers may continue to post in Blooms and Seesaw, but it is not our expectation that they will continue to do so. If you are unable or unwilling to send your child to school for these last few days, there will be no penalty in terms of attendance or assessments. All students will continue to the next grade level unless we have already been in discussion about retention. All absences will be marked as excused during this period. All students will get a report card where the teacher will give their best possible assessment of their learning at that time. So again, if you choose not to send your child to school, there will be no penalty for them not continuing their education. The elementary school schedule will be 8:30 to 3:30 with some slight modifications to recess and lunch times to allow for proper social distancing. This is a good time for us to go over our 3 layers of safety for our students. Although we've outlined these before, for me, it's been really helpful to categorize and group them into 3 layers. And I know that thinking of our procedures in terms of these layers is a great way for us to organize this information. This is important information, so please bear with me. I know a lot of it is what we went over in the last webinar, but this is what we've been working on for the last few weeks. BFS is maintaining a 3-layered approach to returning to campus. This is to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and to lessen the risk of transmission. The 3 layers of approach, hand washing, disinfecting, mask wearing, and social distancing, are based on the Korean CDC directives, CDC recommendations from the United States, and the advice from international schools that have already returned to school. Although it is preferred to always have 3 layers in place, and that is what we strive for, we do feel confident that when hand washing and one of the other 2 layers of protection are in place, we are providing a reasonable health safeguard. If there is ever a concern about community spread in the future, we will be reviewing these layers and their implementation to ensure that they are adequate. Teachers and students will be prepared before the return of school via videos, checklists, and quizzes on these new routines and procedures. Let's go to what those 3 layers look like individually. The first layer is hand washing and disinfectants. Students at every grade level will be taught the proper techniques for hand washing. We will record a video that will be played on screens throughout the school. Before students are allowed to enter a classroom or a new space, a teacher or classmate helps them to disinfect their hands. All tables in classrooms will be covered with a virus-proof protective coating. Many of you will have seen this on your building elevators or your building. It prevents the virus from actually staying and will be an amazing step for our school. Equipment, if applicable or where applicable, is a disinfectant when students leave. All elementary students will have their own individual bags of school materials and will not share classroom materials. In the next layer, we'll have masks. Masks should be worn at all times, and according to government directions, they will be worn at all times in school except when eating or drinking. Students are not expected to wear masks during PE, but contact sports or any activities that do not allow for social distancing are no longer allowed at school. Masks may become optional, but that's depending on the recommendation of the government and their criteria. Anyone who does not wear a mask when required to do so will be reminded by school personnel to do so. Any student or adult who refuses to wear a mask will be directed or asked to leave the campus. Each student will be instructed to bring 3 masks from home every day. Students are given a plastic Ziploc bag to store the masks when they choose to remove them and while in the cafeteria. So we'll be asking parents, please send 3 masks with your child. Now the school has a large supply of backup masks in all sizes in the event that a student does forget their mask or that their mask becomes damaged or lost. Again, we will be sharing a safety video before students start on what the proper wearing of a mask will look like. The final layer will be social distancing. In the classrooms, all desks will be placed 1 meter apart and facing forward to prevent viral droplet spread. The floor and stairs will have stickers to show students walking 1 meter apart. And we also have the ropes that are 1 meter spaced apart so that the students will know when they're walking, how far apart that will look, and that will be just helping them in training. In the cafeteria, social distancing will be maintained. In addition, a transparent guard will be placed between students to prevent viral droplet spread. We have redesigned the lunch schedule to allow for adequate social distancing. Lunch will be delivered to the students in their seats in the cafeteria. You will be getting calls from the office starting today and through the early part of next week, asking if you'd like to continue participating in lunch. During entry, the beginning of school and the end of school, only essential visitors will be allowed on campus. Essential visitors include BFS employees and students. Any other visitor requires prior administration approval and the completion of a health questionnaire. When parents drop off their students, we will be asking that you drop them up going up the hill away from the front entrance to avoid congestion in front of the entrance. We'll have people and signs outside to help direct you on where that drop-off procedure will be. For at least the first few days, myself and other BFS employees and staff and faculty will be standing in front of the school to help students get off on their buses. Buses will arrive and drop off 1 at a time to allow for proper social distancing and avoid congestion as we approach into the school. So by staggering the bus arrivals, we will be able to avoid heavy congestion, and students will no longer wait in the lobby or out on the recess field. They will go directly to their classrooms where the teacher will be waiting for them. Again, at the end of the day for pickup, it will be similar. We're going to be sending students down to the buses on a little bit of a staggered schedule. Again, just to avoid the congestion in the lobby. Parents, if you're picking up your child, you will be doing so outside. We do ask that you be on time. I know that's difficult with traffic. But we would ask that you be on time because students have to wait. We'll have to space them appropriately in the lobby or in the vestibule downstairs. All students, parents, and teachers are required to complete a health questionnaire prior to attending the campus, and that will detail health and travel history. This is an absolute requirement from the ministry. No student will be allowed to come into campus if their parents have not completed this health questionnaire. You'll see this coming from BFS Communications. Please complete it if you're planning to send your child. We would hate to have to turn them away at the door because it is not completed. All visitors must pass a temperature screening before being allowed on campus, as well as all students. We'll continue to use our thermal scanners as we come in, and they will be used when entering the school. We will also have the forehead scanners in each classroom, so that if a student appears to have developed a fever during the day, which can happen, and the teacher can quickly scan them. Anyone with a temperature of 37.8 degrees Celsius or higher will either be denied entries to campus or escorted to our isolation room to wait pickup. And we do have an isolation room on campus, so if anyone shows the symptoms of COVID-19, they will go there, and then we will ask you to come and pick them up. Sometimes I know this may be difficult. It is a requirement from the ministry, and it's also our requirement. We would ask that you do that as quickly as you can. And just in terms of common areas, we do have common areas in the school, mostly for middle school and high school students, and we will be asking students not to use those common areas to congregate on breaks or transition times. Now, I know that's a lot of information to take in. It is all published on our website, and I suggest that you go there and take a look if you have further questions. And again, this will be recorded and you can review it afterwards. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here today. This is not the way that I would have chosen to end the year, but I am grateful for many things. I am grateful for everyone in our community is safe and healthy. I'm grateful that excellent learning has continued. Finally, I'm grateful to live in a country where I have the opportunity to see our students again and to help them celebrate important milestones in their education. On behalf of the teachers, I would like to thank you and extend a thank you to all of you for your support and encouragement for our school during a difficult time. I'm happy that we have some clarity now on how our school year ends. I'm optimistic that we'll be able to follow this plan, but I am also realistic. The ministry has changed the plan 5 times, and when it changes again, or if it changes again, we will have to adapt, and our goal will be to be able to see our students and say goodbye in a way that is healthy, both mentally and physically, and where people feel comfortable. I hope today that I've given you the information that you need to make an informed decision. It's very close to the end of the year. If you do not feel comfortable sending your child to school, you are not required to do so. We will, the office will be calling you in the next coming days to help us gather information to help plan effectively. I will say this, the 3 questions that they'll be asking is, will you be sending your child to school? And if you say no, that's perfectly acceptable. Please know that if you change your mind later, that's okay, but you will need to call and give us at least 24 hours notice so that we can rearrange the classrooms. The second question will be, will you be taking the school bus? And again, we will be maintaining proper social distancing. Every child will have a window seat. And if you are sending your child or they are taking the bus, will you be continuing with the lunch plan? And again, as we had emailed out, it feels like about over 4 weeks ago, if you any unused bus or lunch will be refunded, and the office will be sending out details towards the end of the year. We'll keep this room open for any questions you may have. I'd just like to thank you for your time again. Thank you again to the PTSO for the Teacher Appreciation Day. And I'm going to turn off my camera and microphone now, but I'll stay in the room to answer any questions, and I may jump back in if there's anything more important or something that I need to address for everybody, okay? Thank you very much for your time.